Minions, The Rise of Gru. Now, folks, do you realise that this animated series is the highest grossing animated film franchise of all time? And
yes,
it's amazing. And I mean, it wasn't all that many years ago that it started. I mean, when was the first one? 2010-ish?
12 years ago.
Yeah, so 2010.
Yep.
I mean, so look, this is an origin story, an ode to the music of the 70s. The year 1976. Minions, The Rise of Gru, PG rated, 87 minutes. So how many teachers are bored? Well, there is one here. A bored teacher asks the children in her class at elementary school, it is the United States, what they want to be when they grow up. Gru, who's voiced by Steve Carell again, is in no two minds. He has his sights set on becoming a supervillain, and before long he gets his chance. That comes about thanks to the clandestine efforts of a nefarious outfit known as the Vicious Six. They operate from the bowels of a building daubed with a sign, Criminal Records. So it is a record store. Having ditched his faithful, if accident-prone minions, Gru sets in chain a series of events that has members of the Vicious Six chasing him and specifically 4 minions, Kevin, Stuart, Bob and Otto. Heaps of fun, this one. Absolutely delightful script, promises to continue the popularity of Gru and the Minions, filled with good humour, animated sight gags, adventure, fantasy, and we're talking hair-raising chases, combat, Indiana Jones-like impediments, the hilly terrain of San Francisco, a kooky-shaped lair, and Chinese New Year celebrations. I mean, that's not a bad starting point. Importantly, as I saw it, Jackie, it's family fun. Children will appreciate it, but I reckon adults will too.
I think adults, particularly of all ages, really, will be going for the nostalgia element. A lot of younger adults, shall we say, will be thinking back to when they first saw the emergence of Gru, and was Despicable Me the first one?
Yeah,
it was.
Yes, and they'll be thinking of that, and for the next generation up, who might have lived through the 70s. 1976 was a great year, and they had so much fun with that. Pogo sticks and dial telephones, and right back to the hairstyles and the colours and the heaps of fun with that. Heaps of in-jokes. I didn't really think a lot of it was laugh out loud. I mean, the language didn't give us jokes to laugh at, but there was enough wafting through it to be enjoyed, probably more visually than in the language. Yes, great fun, and San Francisco was a great setting for it. That allowed for a lot more of the physicality, the slapstick, if you like. That was great fun. All great fun, yes, absolutely.
Well, one of the characters, Peter, that really struck me, Gru's mum, Marlena, played by somebody who sugar will melt in her mouth, but is anything but here. Julie Andrews, the voice of. I thought that was lovely. Didn't you think that?
Absolutely. In fact, there are so many interesting voices in this film. I mean, Michelle Yeoh, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Lucy Lawless, Dolph Lundgren, Russell Brand, Alan Arkin. It's a really strong voice cast. And yes, this film is a lot of fun. It's actually a follow-up to the 2015 film Minions, even though Minions were first introduced in Despicable Me, but technically it's the follow-up to that film. And it really has fun with the Minions, but also with the backstory of Gru and how he became a super villain, which I thought was very funny. And the satire of the 70s, in fact, the songs that they used in a very comedic sort of way, as well well as the Vicious Six inhabiting the 70s and learning kung fu with the minions, having a lot of fun with Michelle Yeoh.
Well, that was great. I mean, known as Master Chow, by the way, the voice of Michelle Yeoh, really kicks butt. I mean, isn't that a beautiful contrast? This kung fu master turned acupuncturist. I mean, wonderful. We're talking about her teaching Kevin, Stuart and Bob the martial arts, knowing that whatever she does, they're going to go and do their own thing anyway.
Absolutely. The bottom line of a good animation is, first of all, the story and the screenplay. And this one has had a lot of attention paid to the screenplay to make sure it's a lot of fun for both young people in terms of visuals, etc., but also for the storyline for adults. So I think this is a very effective and amusing film, which I really enjoyed. More big-eyed minions. Exactly.
And, I mean, it's perfect fodder. I reckon if Russell Crowe could have got in there as a real live character, he would have. He plays Dr. Nefario, doesn't he, David? An aspiring mad scientist. I think it's quite an appropriate role for Russell Brand, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think what I loved about this film was that it goes back to the old school animation humour that most of us grew up with Looney Tunes and stuff like that. But the film also took some risks because it almost parodies the black exploitation movies of the 1970s with Bell Bottom as a character, and it also goes back to the martial arts films of the 1970s as well. For me, it did what Lightyear didn't. Lightyear didn't parody the time that it was supposed to be set at all, whereas this film does it remarkably well. Like you said, the voice casting is outstanding. Russell Brand has been there, I think, since the first film. So bringing in this kind of list of voice actors to pump up Carell and Brand has been absolutely fantastic. So part of the fun of this film is actually picking who voices who when you're in the cinema. But yeah, I loved it.
I reckon you'd be very proud, would you not, Jackie, to be asked to be the voice talent in a successful franchise like this. I reckon it's a feather in your cap.
Well, it certainly makes it all more fun, and to have a good team along with you, I would think, and also with its success so far, perhaps many more into the future.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, blend of ditzy characters, really colourful animation, which is part for the course, but very, very important, and this rollicking storyline working a treat. And add to that, what about the terrific 70s soundtrack? As we said, 70s was a great era, Jackie. Grammy-winning music producer by the name of Jack Antonoff is the one responsible. I mean, long live Gru and the Minions. The box office take, it's going to keep on skyrocketing. I can't see any reason it would not. Give us a score, Jackie. Minions, Gru, rated PG, yes, 87 minutes.
Right. Well, I would just add also that it does take that classic theme for a lot of children's films of follow your dreams. But when your dream happens to be that you want to be a criminal mastermind or an evil criminal...
Anything wrong with that, Jackie?
It turns it on its head, which makes it so delightful for children. Look, 7.5 out of 10 for Minions, The Rise of Gru.
7.5 for you. Okay. Dave Griffiths.
Yes, 7.5 for me as well. And also, you won't have to wait long for the next film, because this film was supposed to have come out 2 years ago, so the next one's coming out next year.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a good thing. All right, what about you, Peter Krause?
I really enjoyed it too, and in fact it's a good model of screenwriting for animation, and I gave it 8 out of 10.
And I gave it an 8 out of 10 likewise, so we're doing well today. By the way, we were going to talk, and we will